no girls.
Yikes.
But if you have children of different genders, you know exactly what we're talking about. Right. Boys and girls are absolutely different, and they will be different when they reach adulthood.
Right. And now this is not...
So again, how does this relate to women's suffrage?
As I reiterate, again, this is not everybody.
Right. And we don't...
This is the majority. This is more than 51% of the bodies.
If you take one gender, yeah, way more than 51% of them are going to do things way better than more than 51% of the other gender.
Right.
So that being said, men and women are different. This whole suffrage thing is what? How did it destroy? This is when you said that's very controversial. How did it destroy the family, the nuclear family unit?
Well, back when Susan B. Anthony was championing women's rights,
which she wanted women to vote, and maybe there's a lot of merit in that, right?
That's fine. Let me get to the voting in a second, and we will touch on that. Susan B. Anthony was a lone voice. Do not for 1 second believe that there was this huge movement of married women across the board that wanted their independence from their man. I want to vote. I want to be able to work. I want to do all these. I want out the house. Sorry, didn't happen. The majority of women were like, no, I got my babies, my children. I'm raising a family. My husband goes off to work, slaving away.
So you're saying that what they were doing in their position in life was exactly where they wanted to be.
Yes. Not only did they not want to be, but biologically, once you have children, a woman goes in. There's no book written to be a mother. A woman goes into mother mode, and you know these women. They mother mode at work, too. They said, stop that. So, but they go into mother mode, and they maintain a family, and they maintain their household. And as the husband goes out to hunt, or to slay the dragon, as I call it, she's there as the glue to hold the entire family together. I am telling you that the mother, the woman, is the most important central part. If you take a spoked wheel, a wagon wheel, the hub holds all the spokes together, and the entire wheel is held together because of the central hub. That is mom. That's what they do.
Now, my wife, I've actually threw out the idea of possibly having her not work so that she could take care of the household. And she seems very uncomfortable with that idea. And I think it's because she's developed relationships at work that she just doesn't want to just hack off just like that.
Right. And again, granted, his wife may be different too. There are women out there that don't want that.
If we had like 3, 4, 5 children, that may be a totally different story.
Okay. Now, that being said, the woman has a job to do as well as the man has a job to do. And they can't, if you do the same job together, something will be neglected. If mom and dad both stay at home,
nobody's slaying the dragon.
They'll be slaying the dragon. And your children are probably going to be irritated that they have to put up with you all day drinking beer and wearing a wife beater with mustard stains, collecting a welfare check.
Oh, and there are, you know what? Now that we talk about the welfare state that we live in, that's probably a common situation.
I'm about ready to touch on that one too.
So you got two parents at home collecting government check while the children go and get raised by the state.
Yes.
Wow.
So the Department of Education, founded around this time, back in the late 1800s, but it was put in as just an office of education, connected with Health and Human Services. The welfare state used to be one welfare, Health and Human Services, and education used to be one unit. So it's kind of ironic that they're now their own individual units, but funded and working together and in collusion with the government. So, okay. Now let's get back to voting. If
I have my own opinion on that too, so
you have,
I will let you know.
I don't mind. I have nothing. There's nothing wrong with women voting, and there's nothing wrong with women working. Matter of fact, prior to World War II, 14 million women were in the workforce. After World War II, or during the war, it ramped up to 19 million women in the workforce. Hence, the men coming back, some women lost their jobs, but most of them wanted to keep their jobs. And there we have the baby boomers who literally are mother and fatherless because you have both parents working now, and these kids are being raised at as early as 3 and 4 years old by the government, when they need to be at home being nurtured and loved on by their mother. So, voting. I have no problem with women voting. The problem that I have, and which is, you'll see, is a problem. I'm paying taxes and I own land. Taxpayers should vote. Landowners, obviously. Why? Because they have skin in the game. They're part of the game. They're in the game and they're playing the game. To have somebody that is collecting taxes, i.e., collecting a welfare check, should not be allowed to vote because that person collecting a check will vote for more collection of checks. Just inherently. Inherently, they'll do that.
Kind of like Congress keeps voting to give themselves raises.
Yes. And if you look at the wall of shame that I post on Facebook.com/Smith Radio, there is dozens of Congress people that have been in office for 40 years, 30 years, 40 years, 45 years, and collect a paycheck of $175,000, $200,000 a year, plus free cars, free airfare, free rent, all this stuff, freebies.
And free insider trading, just FYI.
Which is legal to them. And they also have slush funds every year, and they call it a slush fund every year to fund themselves. My point is, women's suffrage took it the wrong way and too far, in my opinion, because that spawned the feminist movement of the whole mentality. I don't need no stinking man. I don't need no man.
That's an interesting. So you actually took it further than me. So originally, what was originally thought was you should be a landowner. That's very exclusive because so many people would just rent. And those people wouldn't be able to vote.
And maybe I'm paying taxes by buying goods and services. I've got a job.
You're saying
trying to make a come
only
up.
Taxpayers. That would be if you have a household. If, let's say, a mother, a father, and the oldest son, they're all working. The mother could be working, so they're paying tax. You could have 3 people voting in that household. Here was my take. I don't know if it's...
Sorry. And she was supported by the Democrats of the day. And the Democrats want everybody to vote, even people outside the country.
Oh, if Democrats could allow children ages 3 and up to vote, they would be totally on that.
Governor Jerry Brown out of California just passed legislation. The Motor Voter Act says, yes, if you're an illegal alien in America and you get your ID to drive a car, you can vote.
So underage?
Well, 18.
Well,
but illegal.
You can get a driver's license when you're 16.
Well, but when you apply in California, it's called motor voter.
Okay.
When you go get your driver's license, you signed up to vote, regardless of who you are.
Even if you're illegal.
Yeah. Well, you got a driver's license, you should vote.
Oh, boy. California's so messed up.
So you see how far it's gone the wrong way.
California is a threat to the United States.
Yes.
All right.
We need to quarantine them.
So here's my opinion. My opinion is, tell me what you think of this one. Forget about land ownership. And forget about paying taxes per se, even though that is a very good idea. Consider that because you don't want people voting for giving away more taxes to themselves.
Right.
So that's an interesting thought. My opinion is I think that only heads of household should be allowed to vote, and their vote should be equivalent to the total number themselves plus the total number of dependents under them. That's the value of their vote. So if they're a single man living in an apartment, or a woman, gender women, men, allowed to vote if you want. If they're single, they get one vote, regardless of whether they own property. And to be honest with you, maybe even paying taxes, whatever. If you are a 36-year-old man living with your parents,
i.e. Bernie Sanders.
He was.
His mother and father came out and made a statement and said, yeah, for years we just kind of gave up. And we never thought he'd ever amount to much.
Anything.
And this, we're just shocked.
We can't believe people are so stupid to support it. All right, so you got a household. It could be an apartment, so you don't own the land.
Right.
Or it could be a house where you do own land. Doesn't matter. It is a household, and whoever the head of household is, and there could be a little bit of a controversy. Maybe the mother. Maybe there's a married couple and with children. Maybe the mother wants to be considered the head of household.
Okay.
Maybe the father says, no, I get to be the head of household. There might be a dispute there. And that's okay. If you want to develop a way to solve the dispute of who gets to be the head of household, that's fine. Whatever.
You could even make that decision amongst your family.
But the reason I think this is important, that one head of household votes, is because if a mother and a father goes out and one votes for Democrat and the other votes for the Republican, this is not going to work. That whole family has just missed out on a say.
Right. No, I agree.
But if you want children to have a say, fine. Head of household. If you have 5 children and they're married, that's 5 plus the mother. Let's say the man's going to... Let's give the mother the head of household. The mother will then have a vote equivalent to the husband, themselves, plus the 5 children. What is that? 8? Their vote counts as 8.
Okay.
And they could be poor. If they're poor, their vote counts as 8. If they're you could be a rich woman, no children. Maybe you're married. Your vote counts as 2. Doesn't matter. So I think that's my opinion. I think it should be one vote, head of household. Figure out who the head of household is. If you are an adult living with your parents, you're not head of household.
You can't be.
You don't get the vote. You want to vote? Move your ass out.
Well, unless your parents are, 90.
No. Then you're
taking care of them.
Parents are dependents.
Yes.
Your parents lose their vote.
Oh, so you don't become head of household?
Well, no, the child who is taking care of their elderly parents becomes the head of household.
Correct. Right.
And their vote is worth more.
Yes. Okay, I would agree with that.
Yeah, so maybe your children moved away and your vote's worth less, but you have children out there that are voting. But then your parents come and you're the head of household. Yeah, your parents don't become head of household because you need to take care of them.
Right.
That doesn't happen.
Right.
So you need to figure out who wants to be the head of household.
Okay. Well, my whole thing about all of this, and I am not disputing for 1 second that women were suppressed at some point in time. However, there was a day and age to where women stayed home, took care of the family. Look at the women now and look at what's going on now, because this is what they're taught. 80% of black babies are born out of wedlock. 50% of all pregnancies in the state of New York end in abortion in the black community.
Yeah, that's not good.
60% of Hispanics are born out of wedlock.
That's shocking.
It is shocking.
Because I
wouldn't think it
would
be
think
that
that there's a lot of Catholicism within the Mexican community.
Well, there is
in their culture, lots of Catholics.
Right, but there is a small little back door to that. It's because a lot of times new Hispanics do not register as being married with the state. They just get married in the church.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So they really do exercise separation of church and state.
Right. So that's a hard number to count. But
so they may be married, but registered as single.
Correct.
Okay.
You do get a lot of that, but it still is a very high number in the white community. White, other than